Hello, I'm Liao. Welcome back to Evan of Code 2023. We are solving challenges day by day towards the 25th of December. And today we are on day 3 and we are going to solve this challenge. Let's take a look. What is it? So, day 3 Gear Ratios. You and the elf eventually reach a gondola lift station. He says that the gondola lift will take you up to the water source, but this is as far as he can bring you, so you go inside. It doesn't take long to find the gondolas, but there seems to be a problem. They're not moving. You turn to see a slightly greasy elf with a wrench and look off surprised. Sorry, I wasn't expecting anyone. The gondola lift isn't working right now. It will still be a while before I can fix it. You offer to help. The engineer explains that an engineer part seems to be missing from all the engine, but nobody can figure out which one. If you can add up all the part numbers in the engine schematic, it should be easy to work out which part is missing. The engine schematic, your puzzle input, consists of visual representations of the engine. There are lots of numbers and symbols you don't really understand, but apparently any number adjacent to a symbol, even diagonally, is a part number, and you should be included in your sum. So periods, dots doesn't count as a symbol. So here is an example of engine schematic. In this schematic, two numbers are not part numbers because they are not adjacent to a symbol. So this 114 is not adjacent to any symbol. It's all surrounded by dots. And 58, right? It's surrounded by periods. So it's not a parts number. But this diagonally collects to plus this. This has a parts below on top diagonally, and this as well, right? So every other number is adjacent to a symbol, and so it is a parts number, and their sum is 4361. So we're gonna find all these numbers, add them up, and get the sum. Of course, the actual engine schematic is much larger. And what is the sum of all the part numbers in the engine schematic? Okay, let's try and figure out how we can solve this puzzle. So let's create a new file, day 3 puzzle1.js. And I think before we start, let's just try our idea on this sample input first. So this is our input. So first thing first is I'm gonna break this into an array of each line. I'm gonna call it map. So input dot splits by a new line. So this is the map. So now input we have rows. A map is an array where every item is each row, and every in each item every characters is this one line, right? So the next thing is we're gonna loop through the map from top line by line, from top to bottom, and I'm gonna find numbers. So for example, we're gonna figure out 4, 6, 7. I think any contiguous numbers like 4, 6, 7, then we know that this is a number. And then we are gonna figure out whether it is does it touch any symbols surround by it, right? So that's something that we need to figure out. So let's try and implement it. So the first thing is I'm gonna loop through every line of map. And then for each line, I'm gonna start with let I as in the pointer to search for the characters, and let's see. I'm gonna say while I is less than line.length, and then if a line. Okay, I think instead of for const of, I'm gonna use the for loop for let row equals 0, row less than map.length, row plus plus. so that I can get this variable called row, and then const line equals to row, sorry, map row, and then instead of I, I'm going to call it a column. Column, and then so we're gonna go through column character by character. If this character is a digit, so I'm gonna use this test 0 to 9 test. If it's a number, then I guess we are at the start of this starting. So we're gonna record the starting column, start column equals to column, and then we're gonna search while column is less than line dot length. We're gonna search what's the ending column of where the where it's no longer a number. So here, test. And if it's number, then we're gonna increment column until it's not. We will break this loop, and then n column is equals to column minus 1, because we are at this place where it's no longer digit, and we're gonna record start and end, where in this case it will start at 0 and end column should be 2. Okay, so we have the column, the starting, ending, and the row number. So we can basically know that the number is equals to line column, line slice start column to end column plus 1. So this is the number. And next thing is we need to check whether is adjacent. If is adjacent to parts, right, to symbol, and we give it a row start column and column. So this is where our numbers is, the row, the starting and end column. And if it's adjacent, so we have we're gonna write a function called is adjacent to figure out whether the surrounding of this row start and end is touched to any symbol. Then if it's so, we're gonna add number to our final sum, to the result, right? So let sum equals 0 at first. I'm gonna sum it up, and then in the end sum, this is the sum is the result that we're gonna print it out, right? So by the end of this, we're gonna continue our search, right? And else column plus plus for here, right? And I think that's it. So now we're gonna implement this is adjacent to symbol. Function is adjacent to symbol, row start column and column. Okay, so how do we know whether it's adjacent to symbol? First is that we need to loop through. So for each, we're gonna loop. So basically for this one, right, we're gonna go one row before, and we're gonna cover the surrounding, right? So it'll be starting from the start column minus 1 all the way to end column plus 1. So it's like this. Let column equals to, okay, I'm gonna say column to search equals to start column minus 1, column to search less equals to end column plus 1, column to search plus plus, and if row, if within boundary, the row and column to search. I think the first we're gonna search is the row minus one, right? Okay, let me row to search is row minus one. If it's within boundary and the map row to search and column to search is not I think, let me see. It could be any number, right? So as long as it's not number and not a period, then we're gonna say we found that it is adjacent to any symbol, right? So this regular expressions will be 0 to 9, and also the period symbol. If it's not this one, then we're gonna return true, right? So the first is we're gonna check as for the row search is from row minus one, and then column from start column minus one to end column plus one, and then we're also gonna search for the same thing for, I think this one I'm gonna turn it into a function, right? So it's much easier. Instead of this one, I'm gonna say check is symbol row column, right? Check is symbol row to search, column to search. Okay, then we are also going to search on the current row, and in this case we're gonna only check check a symbol from row to search, column to search minus 1, true, also plus 1. So this is we're gonna check before and after, and then at the same time we are also gonna the same loop, we are also checking if, hold on, this should be the row, column, and column, right? And then also we're gonna check the row to search is row plus 1, and then this is the thing we're gonna do. I think instead of this, we're gonna reuse the same loop. So here, this is row minus 1. Here, we're gonna use the row plus 1. It's away. It's away. And then if we can't find anything, we're gonna say return false, right? Here, so we look through the top and the bottom, and also the left and the right. And then if we can find, we return true. If not, we return false. And here we also need to check whether, when we check a symbol, we can check whether this row to search and column is within the boundary. Instead of row to search, this is row, and this is column. Of course, we need to define this. We can also write it here. If row is greater than 0 and row is less than equals to or less than the map dot length, and for column must be greater than 0. At the same time, also column have to be less than map row dot length, right? And then also this one. Let's save this and let's try and run this. note day 3, puzzle 1, 4361. And this is the answer, right? So I think our implementation is correct. So let's try and get the actual puzzle input. Wow, this is huge. Let's copy all this. Let's paste this in. And then let's try to run our code. 525119. Let's see if this is the correct answer. And yes, that is right. It is a correct answer. So we get a gold star. So continue to part 2. The engineers find the missing parts and install it into the engine. As the engine springs to life, you jump into the closest gondola, finally ready to ascend to the water source. You don't seem to be going very fast though. Maybe something is still wrong. Fortunately, the gondola has a phone labeled help. So you pick it up and the engineer answers. Before you can explain the situation, she suggests that you look out the window. There stands an engineer holding a phone in one hand and waving with the other. You're going so slowly that you haven't even left the station, so you exit the gondola. The missing part wasn't the only issue. One of the gears in the engine is wrong. A gear is any star symbol that is adjacent to exactly 2 part numbers. Its gear ratio is the result of multiplying those 2 numbers together. So this time, you need to find the gear ratio of every gear, add them all up, so that the engineer can figure out which gears needs to be replaced. So consider the same schematic engine again. Engine schematic again. In this schematic, there are 2 gears, right? Star symbol. The first is in the top left. Over here, it has the part of 4, 6, 7, and 35. So its gear ratio is the multiplication. And second gear is in the lower right, over here. Its gear ratio is this thing, the multiplication of it. This one is not considered a gear because it's only adjacent to only one parts number. Adding all up of the gear ratio produces this number. So what is the sum of all the gear ratios in your engine schematic? Okay, interesting. So let's try and figure this out in part 2. So let's go back to our code. I feel like there's some part of the code can be used, but most of the thing, the way we solve it, I guess there's nothing much we can reuse. But anyway, I have copied this code out. Let me change the input. Change back to this to try out to see whether our logic works. Okay, so we have the map, we split it. We're gonna go through line by line again. I think this time around we are going to look for, instead of looking for numbers, we're going to looking for a star symbol. Okay, so once we start the star symbol, we find whether it's surrounded by numbers and whether it's surrounded by 2 numbers. If it's surrounded by 2 numbers, then from that point, we're gonna look from the number that we found it, we're gonna look left and right, try to figure out what's the starting and ending of the number. So for example, over here, if we found this symbol, and then we get the surrounding, which is here, and if the surrounding has let's see, it has 2 numbers. It needs to have 2. Okay, I think we need to figure out what's the logic, but then in this case we found that it has 2 numbers, right, that is being surrounded. Then we need to go from this position and try to find the starting and ending. Okay, from this position we're going to find the starting and ending, which is like this, and then we figure that number, and then we use this number, these 2 numbers, to add it up, and multiply them, and then add up the sum of the multiplication. So let's see how we can do this. So the sum is here, correct? Here we have split into rows. I think these are okay. We don't have to change anything over here. I think this logic probably has to change a bit. So here we're gonna just loop through. Let column equals 0, column less than map row dot length column plus plus, and here and then here basically if map row column is a star, then it's something that we need to do, right? If it's not a star, then we're gonna continue. Okay, right? This logic here. Okay, I think okay, we just like this. Okay, so here we have this logic that we need to handle. Once we found this thing, we are going to look at its surrounding, adjacent, and then figure out if it's a number. If it's a number, then we are going to locate that the full number itself. So we're gonna go through its adjacent first. So one way I can do this is that I'm gonna say I'm going to loop through its adjacent, right? So here, the way I'm going to do here is that I'm going to go to find row to search and column to search, and I'm going to go through each of the row and column to search. And for this one, each of this array that we're going to go through is row, this current row minus 1, column to search minus 1, and then we're going to search through row minus 1, column to search, and then row plus 1. And then here we are going to go to the current row, which is column to search minus 1 and column to search plus 1. And then here we are going at row plus 1, column to search minus 1, column, right? So here, wait, this is not column to search, this is the current column, right? So we're gonna loop through this array. Each of this pair is what we are looking at, and each of this pair we're gonna destructure and get this row to search and column to search. And so if this row to search and column to search is within boundary, and the logic is this part, right? So I think this one, now it's time to take it out, is within boundary, row, column, is within boundary. Okay, row to search, column to search is within a boundary. And if it's within a boundary, then we're going to check if this, we're going to check if it's a number, right? Dot test map column to search, right? Start with row to search, row to search, whoops, column to search, hold on. Right, if it's a number, then we need to I think first is we need to count. Let's count equals to 0. We found one number, we're gonna say let's count count plus plus, and also we need to figure out the number. Get number from row to search, column to search, right over here, and then we're gonna multiply them together. So I guess here is a multiplication. Since anything multiplies by 1 is 1, so we're gonna initialize the multiplication to be 1, and then once we found the number, we are going to times equals to the number, right? And then we move forward to it, right? So let's see, exactly 2 part numbers, right? Exactly 2 parts numbers. So over here, if only if the count is exactly 2, after we search through everything, if it's exactly equals to 2, then we're gonna sum the multiplication up. Plus equals to multiplication. Okay, so this is what we need to do. And here, the get number is something that we need to implement. Okay, so this one, I don't think we need it anymore. Check a symbol, don't need anymore. Let's remove this. This is for puzzle 1, this is puzzle 2, don't need it. So here we're gonna implement get number, row, and column. Get number, row, column. Okay, right. So we're gonna find the starting column equals, and also the ending column. Okay, and after we found our starting and ending column, then the number is actually written number map row slice from start column and column plus 1. Okay, this is, I think we've done this. We have similar logics in our previous puzzle, right? Where we slice out this thing. It's actually the same line, slice, start and end column, right? Map row, slice, start and end column. So how do we find the starting and end column? We initialize it with column first, right? Because we know this is a digit, and then we try to keep looking forward, looking in front. For the start column, we're gonna keep looking in front, and the end column we keep looking at the back, right? So while row, row. Hold on first. I think while start column is greater equals to 0, and this one start column, I think while is greater than 0 and start column minus 1, minus 1 is a digit, right? So okay, right? While it's still greater than 0, and then we check if the minus 1 value it is digit, then if it's, we move towards the front, right? And same thing goes with the end column. While it's less than the map row dot length minus 1, and then we test the end column plus 1. If it's still a number, then end column plus plus. We add some brackets so it's nicer. Okay, so here we have this, and so we figure out this number out. Okay, next thing is that once we figure out the number, sometimes for the map that looks like this, these two numbers is we don't want the as we go through the adjacent of the star, we will go through 5 and 9. We'll find 5 and as well as 9, and then both of them, after we get number, we'll get 5, 9, 8. But we only want 1, 5, 9, 8 at the time. Okay, so what can we do to make sure that we only get this the number once? There's a few ways we can do. One is that maybe as we getting the 5, 9, 8, we make sure that we don't loop through the same row and column that is occupied by the number 5, 9, and 8 anymore, right? So to do that, we can create a set called visited. And for this one, we're gonna make it easy. So for visited, whereas we're gonna get the number like this over here. I'm gonna say visited.add. I'm gonna just put in string coordinates. So this is the row and start column. And we're gonna do this here as well. And as well as this one. Okay. And then later on, if in this over here, when we check if it's boundary and also check for this one, we also check if visited has row to search and row to search, comma, column to search. This coordinate, if it does not have it, then we are going to get this number. If it has already, then we are not doing anything, right? We're not incrementing, we're not getting number, we're not multiply. Okay, so I think by now we probably have finished the implementation, and let's try to run our code. So this is the number that we're getting, and this is the number they're saying, 467,835. It's the same, right? So hopefully we are on the right track over here. So now we are going to copy the actual puzzle. Copy this, and we're going to come here and paste it in. I'm going to run our code. This is the answer that we're getting. Are we on the right track? Are we correct? And yes, no, yes, no. Yay, it's correct. So we get our next star. So here we have finished our day 3 challenge. We got 2 more stars in our belt, and we are ready for day 4 challenge. So we're gonna see you in the next one. Bye bye.